In this video, I'll share the technique that I discovered to make ambigrams. For the lack of a better word, I'll call it the line technique. Now, any letter in the English language can be written in multiple ways. Let's take the letter A, for example. You can write it like that, the way it's written in capitals, uppercase. Or you can write it something like this, the lowercase form. Even the lowercase form can be written in two ways. Now let's take the letter M, for example. The capital form can be written in two ways. This, where we have sort of neglected the middle line here. There's this really boisterous form which looks like two mountains. And then there's this lowercase form. Now why am I telling you this? This is because every letter in the English language can be simplified into horizontal and vertical lines only. So if I were to take these two letters, for example, I can write A, the three forms of A, like this. It's mostly consistent of horizontal and vertical lines, except for the little indicator here. You'd notice that all three forms of A have two vertical lines each. Now let's move to M. M offers us some choice. We have two vertical lines here, we have four of them here, and we have three of them here. Why I'm telling you this is going to make sense later. Let's take the letter I, for example. It has only two forms, the uppercase and the lowercase, both of which have only one vertical line each. Moving along. In this chart, I've written each of the letters and all of their forms of writing, next to which I've written their simplified form in almost purely vertical and horizontal lines. This subscript here mentions how many vertical lines each form has. A, as we saw earlier, has three forms, all of which have two vertical lines. B, as you can see here, have four forms, three of which have two lines, and this fourth one has one line. This is a bit too simplified, so I wouldn't recommend this. I wouldn't take you letter by letter. Here we see M again in its three simple forms. Most letters like H, K, they're very inflexible when it comes to the number of vertical lines they can be drawn in. Letters like N, for example, they offer us some choice. In my experience, O has been highly inflexible because it always has to be drawn with a curve like that. I personally avoid O's in words wherever I can. Now R here. With the letter R, you can see that it has both single line forms and double line forms. Same for the letter S. However, these two forms are more common than this one. W is already a rotational symmetrical of M. So you can see that it has the same vertical line forms as M does. Now the case of Y, in the single line form, I've taken the conventionally written Y and compressed it to a point where we can think of this as a single vertical line. Now what is the point behind all of this? Let's design the ambigram of the word magic again. Now based on the information we have in the previous chart, we know that C will only have one vertical line in it, I will have only one, and A will have only two. Let's go back to the chart. G offers us some choice here. And M, as we saw earlier, has 2, 3 or 4 vertical lines. So with G, we can have either 1 or 2 lines in it. And with M, we can have 2 or 3 or 4. Let's write this in its line form. We have C here, and then we have I. Now let's say I take the one line form G. If I flip this over, you can already see that it looks something like a 3-line form M. I think we can use that. So let's make a group. These 3 against M. Now we're left only with A. We've got 3 ways of writing A. These 2 look quite good in this situation because this one is already rotationally symmetrical. So if I had to write A in a manner that it was symmetrical when rotated, I'd either write it like that, or to be a little more creative, I write it something like that. Let's take this one for simplicity. So let's write this down again. What we have this is the word magic written in its line form, such that it's a rotational ambigram. Now this is a very rough sketch, but if you were to design it in a more cursive manner, say something like this, we'd have the ambigram that we saw in this video. Something like that. Now let's take another word, say peace. Why I'm taking these small words right now is because these are simple demonstrations of the line technique. So let's begin with peace. Now with this case, I can see that the 2 form of P is quite useful to me because C and E can already be used like this. You see that? That looks like a P. So let's group these 2 together. What we have is an E and an A. Now with E and A, we have a very unique way of writing E like this, such that it looks like an A when flipped. So now in this case, we've grouped E and A, and the point of symmetry for this ambigram is somewhere here. This point of symmetry is an important concept because it decides what is the axis of rotation for your ambigram. In case of the ambigram of magic, the point of symmetry is this guy. So it's rotating about the letter A. See that? So let's move on to the ambigram of peace. Let's start with E and A. Now we're left with that large E. So let's say we make it in the uppercase. And a similar image here. So we have the ambigram of peace here. As I said, the point of symmetry is this point. So if it is rotated about that axis,